Hello everyone, nice to see you all again. In today's video, we're going to start a new segment in our whole series, which is the sales data analysis. We will focus on orders that have already been created and also being processed. We will draw some key conclusions from the sales data so that you can help yourself to diagnose your sales department's performance. So who am I? My name is Xiao Lu. I help business to make better data-driven decisions. So today's video is only to get one thing right, that is, what should the raw data in a B2B sales department look like and how to gather them. So I noticed a lot of companies have some kind of ERP or CRM system. The data situation is already very good. So I will try not to emphasize too much on this part, but it's very important to get these basics right because data scientists cannot make things out of airs. All the conclusion need to be based on concrete data. That's why it's super important. But like a lot of companies in the business right now are doing a great job. I will only mention some suggestions from my side, which I observed that they are currently not being paid a lot of attention to. So orders and deals are the basic building blocks of the companies. If you pull the revenue data from the database, it was segmented into different orders. The sales orders are not only living in the sales department, they also connect information from other departments. And in the concrete information of these orders, it sometimes refers to an outside customer ID, a sales rep ID, a product IDs, or shipping IDs. So these IDs, identifications, always points to another place of information. For example, if a customer just ordered from two different sales reps, this basic information of the customer is being used two times. So instead of copying the exact information of customer into two different places, I would rather copy the ID to two different places. So that's why I put an ID at the end of each field. Because of a lot of information are being used across different orders, so when we track the orders, we should try to record distinctive details of the order and consider leveraging information from another table for reuse. So this another table I already gave you 4 examples from the product table, from the customer table, and from the shipping tables. I'm going to show you the comprehensive list of fields that you can try to track just for inspirations. I'm not saying that you should track 100% of all of the fields. This is highly company dependent. So let's start with customer information. This is very important because sales representatives sometimes they have high turnover rate. When a sales representative leaves you, the customers still stay with you. You need to collect the customer's basic information like persons, positions, contact information, so on. Then in the next plot, we have order details like order ID, order date, order status, order type, payment type, payment status, purchase order number. This is for your internal organizations. And if you are selling concrete products, you need to also have the product information like SKU, product name, description, unique price, quantity, total price, product variance, and other stuff for helping the logistics. The most problematic field among the product information might be the price because different companies have different pricing rules. Because pricing is complicated, sometimes you have additional fields that's explain the details of how you charge this order to the customer. Next, we have inventory management to make sure the stock level when the order is being placed is reasonable to support the order. Of course, then we have shipping and logistics. We need to deliver this information to the customer. Sometimes we inform them when the product's being dispatched, is being shipped, and being delivered. We also have this administrative details. This is also very company specific. If you provide a certain special price for a certain customer in a B2B scenario, sometimes you need price approval. This is also sometimes related to finance. There are different paying terms and also trade terms. That's where the information should go to. And the last part, because there are always special cases, they have this comment area that you can put some human readable text to tell how the other agent should process with this order. Now we know what a typical sales table look like. I really wanted to draw attention to this one single suggestion. I put it here. That is to establish a precise definition of the revenue to ensure that everybody in the department share a common understanding when the term revenue is being mentioned. Why do I mention this point? Because I realize a lot of companies, when they mention the word revenue, they probably mean different things. And I only know what the revenue does my supervisor want at the fourth month in my current job. The consequences of not getting this right is that at the end of the year, you have different versions of revenues. You have a revenue reported by the sales, you have a revenue reported by the logistic, and also a revenue reported by the financial teams. And then you have to decide which one of them you're going to report. The different departments have their own interests, and probably the versions of revenue serve a different purpose. But as a manager, as a business decision maker, you just you just want one numbers in the end. I'm going to show you the following aspects so you can eliminate the ambiguity of your order attributions. A very simple one that every order have a date with it, right? So the timing of the revenue recognitions, which date is an order attributed to. So in my own company, I already observed three versions. The first version is the invoice creation date. This is the date used by a lot of sales. And then for my coworkers working for the logistic department, they have this product delivered date or the product received date. Then for my coworkers in the finance department, they have this payment receive date. You see that one date, one way of attributing is not absolutely better, and they serve different purpose. So when the invoice is being created, it can be canceled, it can be changed. So the first invoice creation date actually changes the most. When we goes down to the payment receive dates, it changes the least. So the best practice is try to record the 3 days in your order. I'm sure you do, but you probably didn't realize this is a problem. This is a problem for data scientists right now. And also tell to the people working with data which date you want to use as an order attribution date. So the next ambiguity comes from the revenue from multiple deliverables or long-term contract. Should a long-term contract, like a contract that lasts at least a year, got attributed to the date they were issued? Should you attribute all of the revenue into the single date that the order is being finalized? Probably not. There are many realistic reasons you want to consider how to handle orders like this. And the next part of ambiguities come from this loyalty program. So I can give you a simple example. So if you have a program like a bubble tea programs, they have this buy 10 and get one free, right? So how do you attribute the last free orders from the customers? If you cannot handle it right, it will affect your average order value. Also in other ways. So did you attribute that last free bubble tea to that single date, or should you distribute that into the 10 orders that happened before that? The next ambiguity comes from the variable consideration in revenue recognitions. So there are bonuses, there are also penalties, right? So if something is outperforming, there are sometimes in the contract stated there are some bonus. So whenever this bonus or penalty happens, it means that the original revenue will change accordingly. So this will also create some troubles when you do this data processing. And the next very common issue that worry a lot of international companies is this currency exchange. So for multinational companies, currency fluctuations can introduce ambiguity to revenue reportings, especially when you buy something from China, right? So and then deciding on which days you choose to change the Chinese yuan into Europe or US dollars, it can influence your revenues and your income. And next we have different types of orders. So are we talking about before tax or after tax revenue? Are we talking about before cancellation or after cancellations? are the shipping costs included into our revenue. And we also have giveaway, internal and operational revenues. Are these types of orders also included into the final revenue considerations? I will basically summarize some key areas of ambiguities. So below are my tips so that you can fight the ambiguity in your revenue and everybody is happy about one place of truth in the end. So the first tip is, if you haven't made a decision how to process your sales data, then document as much as possible. In this way, you have all the necessary details on hand when you try to modify your calculation method. So try to be as inclusive as possible when you try to record the sales order. And next, in the ideal scenarios, you should establish a single source of truth. In our case, that is a single revenue calculation method that spreads across different departments. In this ways, you don't have communication barriers. So in the real world, probably you might consider implementing parallel reporting systems to mitigate and average out any potential noise. I can give you an example. So you don't want the sales department's KPI to be fulfilled or not fulfilled because there is a sudden fluctuation in the exchange rate. A practice I also see a lot of times is that when your sales teams are completely located in a certain region, probably you should make your KPI based on that currency. And next, you can think about abbreviations of revenue, right? So you can clearly communicate to your colleagues. So if you talk to somebody like, let's try to clean our data and get the revenue we talked about last time. Right? And then they will ask which last time, like the time before the last time, right? That one or this one, right? So try to make an abbreviation of the term of the revenue so that you can mention that I want this BTR, I want this ATR revenue. So to inspire you, I just list some abbreviations of revenues that you can consider employing, like before tax revenue or after tax. You can create a term that is meaningful in your context. And the next tip is about consider recording orders or creating a new columns that enable you to calculate the revenue by direct summations rather than using some very complicated logics. I observe other people working with Excel and they really like just to click on this column name and just do a summation of all the numbers in that column. So if you have a very complicated logic, like you need to check that this order fulfills certain criteria, and then it should be added towards the final revenues, a lot of people will not do that. At some certain point, for example, your new employee or a new intern will probably just do a direct sum of some columns. So let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Let's suppose that you have an order that's being canceled. So there are three ways of how to track orders being canceled. So the first way is that you duplicate this row, and instead of adding 200 euros, now you set minus 200 euros because this order is being canceled, right? And the other way is that you have a status saying that in the first day the status is in the review, and the next day the status is canceled. This is another way you can indicate an order is being canceled. And the last way is that you have an update status. You still have one row of record in your table. You said that this order is being updated in the second day, and the update message is that it's being canceled. So out of these three ways, I see the last way of recording the most in different types of database because it only use one row and it includes the informations. But the dangerous part of it is that you need to lecture everybody working with this data that always check the status before you do the summation. Otherwise, just imagine somebody just click on this revenue row and it sums all the numbers in that row, which will sum the 200 euros without looking at the actual status. Whereas in the first example, even if you do a quick sum of that columns, it cancel each other out. So I will actually recommend that in the last example, we should create a new columns like actual revenue numbers and put a zero in front of it. so that even if somebody just sum the column, just point them to this new column that you created and let them sum that column to make sure everything is right. The next tip is consider implementing updates that do not erase or eliminate historical data. So we can look back to the previous way of recording the revenues. You see that if you just record the last update date, which is day 2, you don't know which date is this order created. You lose the history. Of course, I know like a lot of system support history tracking and stuff. But the broad principle is that do not implement updates that eliminate the previous one. So if you have a prospect that become an actual client, you want to track the prospect's information as well, not only the final clients. The next tip is about record the data in a way that facilitates easy tracking of changes in orders. In essence, strive to retain as much information as possible. So in this point, I want to mention this final stage versus incremental changes. So organize your data in a way that you can pull the final state as well as the incremental changes as easily as possible. To achieve this probably involves some structured design in the database. But on the end user's perspectives, I really want to see final state as well as incremental changes. And really the last thing is that do not rely on the comments. The comment field is a text message. You should really create your comment field that most of the comment fields should be empty. If most of the comment fields are not empty, then please consider creating a columns that contain the most appeared information in the comment field, not just let the user input some free text. Because I see a lot of my coworkers use the comment field to record as information as possible because this is easy. They don't need to look at which column should I record. I just put them in the comment field. And if the coworker asks, they will just say, "Oh, all the things in the comment field. Check out the comment field yourself." This is not what it should be like. The comment field is a text field, meaning that is you can input anything there. Anybody in the field can tell you that it's super hard to process a natural language, comparing it to processing other 10 columns of well-structured input fields like numbers or dates. So please do not rely on the comments. Just tell them that the comments will be deleted after some time. And please input your important messages into other columns. Thanks for keep on watching up to this part. If you are a business owner and you want to make some data-driven decisions, please consider to book a one-to-one meeting call with me. The link is in the description. And one more thing, if you think the content is really helpful, please consider to like and subscribe so that the YouTube algorithm will refer this video to other people like you. Thanks for your attention and bye-bye.